Welcome back to Deadline Day. That clock keeps on ticking, doesn't it? It's been a busy start too. We're now told that it's 50-50 whether Raheem Sterling will stay at Chelsea or move to Arsenal. Stay with us throughout the day. Plenty of twists and turns expected before 11 p.m.
Yeah, 12 hours to go now, as well as finalising their squads for the months ahead. There's a handful of Premier League managers facing the media today. Will they give away any clues of what might happen?
I'm not expecting anything, but again, it's no difference than all the days before. If we see an opportunity, we could act.
There is still work going on to try and see what we can do in the last few hours of the window.
I think there'll be maybe one or two more, but it will also depend on people leaving the building.
Ivan Toney heading for a medical this morning after Saudi Arabian side Al Ahly agreed a £40 million deal with Brentford.
Wilfried Zaha is featured in a few deadline days. Could he be on the move again today? But will it be a Premier League return? Details on the way.
Not going anywhere for the next hour at least. We've had to bribe him with coffee to stay. Jay is still with us for the next hour.
And a Kit Kat.
And other chocolates are available. OK, what a start to Deadline Day with Ivan Toney and Victor Osimhen dominating the headlines. Sources in Saudi Arabia have told us Al Ahly will sign only one of either Ivan Toney or Osimhen. We've got every angle covered on this story. We'll head to Gail Davis shortly, but first let's go to Paul Gilmore, who is at Brentford for us. Very good morning to you, Paul. Toney looks like he's got his move away, but it's not that straightforward, is it? Tell us why.
It never is. We're in the room where Thomas Frank has been fielding many questions about Ivan Toney over the last month or so, perhaps even longer, going right the way back to the last transfer window as well. But as the Brentford players begin to train this morning, Ivan Toney is not amongst them. He is on his way to have a medical with Al Ahly after the clubs agreed a £40 million deal for the England international striker. So Ivan Toney undergoing a medical. The reason it's just not as straightforward is because Victor Osimhen is still involved as well. Al Ahly with deals in place for both of those players. But as we've been hearing, multiple sources telling us that they won't be able, and it's highly unlikely that they will be able to bring both of those players in. One source in the last hours told me that Toney is more likely of the two, but again, we wait and see how all of the various parts fall into place. But certainly Ivan Toney not here amongst the Brentford team at the training ground as he undergoes a medical ahead of a possible £40 million move to Al Ahly. The crucial breakthrough today is that that deal has been agreed between the clubs, and of course worth remembering that the Saudi deadline is Monday, and that can still be completed right the way up until Monday.
Okay, that's that side of it. Paul, thank you very much. Let's go to Stamford Bridge for the Chelsea side of it. Could they still sign Osimhen? Gail Davis, as you can see, is there. Right, what's the possibility of that, Gail?
Yeah, very good morning to you, Rob. You heard from Paul that his sources are saying that it's simply not possible for Al Ahly to sign both Victor Osimhen and Ivan Toney. That is the feeling amongst a number of Premier League clubs, and that means the door is still open for Chelsea to sign the player. Look, they've been really consistent throughout this transfer window. They've made no secret of the fact they would like him. They would like an out-and-out striker, but it has to be at the right price. And if you roll back a few hours this morning when that deal had been agreed between Napoli and Al Ahly for, £67 million. It was a £33 million a year deal. Osimhen would make £650 a week. That's tax-free. Those sort of figures just don't stack up with the financial model that Chelsea are now working in. Got to cut their wage bill by 50%. So yes, they do want him, but it has to be at the right price. And Enzo Maresca has made no secret of the fact he's very happy with his squad, particularly his forward players. I mean, they went and beat Wolves and scored 6, didn't they? And any player that arrives today has to fit that model that they're working on. I think the big focus will also be on those that are going, potentially going. Raheem, I spoke to Carve about half an hour ago, so Gail, it's been an absolutely bonkers morning, hasn't it, at Chelsea? And wait till I tell you this, and that's that Raheem Sterling, we know Maresca's made it quite clear that he isn't part of his plans, that he won't play a minute if he doesn't get a move away from Chelsea during this window. The club, Chelsea, are speaking to other clubs. He's not dealing with that side of thing. And one of the clubs that has been presented to him is the possibility of moving to Arsenal to be reunited with Mikel Arteta. And the likes of Kai Havertz and Jorginho have both found success, haven't they, crossing London. So that's a really interesting one. We know he's got 3 years left on his current Chelsea deal. He's one of the very high earners, but he wants to stay and fight for his place in England, the England side, and regain that place. So he wants a move where all eyes are on him. So Sterling is going to be a really interesting one. And the other two sort of big names that Chelsea will look to offload today, part of those players that are training away from the first team squad, part of those players who won't get any minutes, the likes of Ben Chilwell, Trevor Chalobah. Interesting to see where they might end up as well. I mean, what are we? We're only 5 hours into today or so, and it has changed dramatically kind of every half an hour, so who knows what lies ahead.
That's the excitement of it, Gail. Thank you.
Right, you heard Gail talking about that potential big move across London for Raheem Sterling from Chelsea to Arsenal. Let's go to Arsenal now and join our reporter Gary Cottrell. Gary, what's your view of things from an Arsenal perspective? Potentially very exciting, this one.
Well, don't rule out Arsenal saying welcome to Raheem Sterling. They are in the market if they can find an explosive attacker, a wide player, a versatile player, just to take a little bit of the pressure off Bukayo Saka, who tends to play most games. So Raheem Sterling would certainly fit that bill. We know, don't we, because he said so, that Mikel Arteta is a big fan of Raheem Sterling's. They're close, they know each other from the Manchester City days. He was speaking about him last week, saying what a lovely person, character he is as well, how they always got on well. So there do seem to be certain suggestions that might happen. We do know that Chelsea have offered Raheem Sterling to Arsenal, but it's a difficult deal because Raheem Sterling's wages, he'd have to take a pay cut, probably be on half the money here that he's on at Chelsea, and something would have to be done about that contract that he's on. Maybe he could come here on loan with or without an option. So on deadline day, where the one club is desperate to get rid of a player and another club has a manager who is a fan of a player, you never ever know. It could happen. Watch this space. One player that is in there has already been welcomed to this training ground is Neto, the Bournemouth goalkeeper, coming here on loan for a year with an option to buy. He came in here about an hour and a half ago to finalise that deal with, of course, Aaron Ramsdale going the other way down the south coast to Southampton.
Now, Wolves have done one deal already, and it's a deal that Jay Bothroyd is a fan of. Let's go to Daniel Kahn and get the details on that deal. Dan.
Yeah, morning, Jasper. Happy deadline day as well to everyone celebrating. And in terms of Wolves, as you mentioned, they've already confirmed in the last hour or so a deal for Sam Johnston joining the club from Crystal Palace, and a deal worth up to £10 million. And it comes in the week, of course, they conceded 6 goals against Chelsea last weekend, but Johnston arriving here at Molineux on a 4-year contract with an option for a further 12 months. So interesting to see in terms of what happens to Jose Sarr here at Molineux. His future potentially looks a bit uncertain. There's been interest from Saudi Arabia, but their deadline ends on Monday. So we'll see if there's any movement over that in the next few days. But Wolves expected to be a bit busy on deadline day with the midfielder Andre here in the UK, undergoing his medical at Wolves at the moment. He won the Copa Libertadores Fluminense just a few years ago, and he joins the Brazilian contingent here at Wolves, the likes of Mateus Cunha and João Gomes. Already busy here at Wolves, and I wouldn't rule out potentially any more incomings, and who knows about any departures as well.
Dan.
Let's head up from the Midlands, up the M6 to the northwest. There's been one departure at Everton. Anton Tolui has the latest. Anton.
Yeah, Neil Maupay is no longer an Everton player. He's joined Marseille on loan until the end of the season, but he won't be coming back here to Everton's training ground afterwards because that loan deal includes an obligation to buy, and I'm told that's for around £6 million, rising as high as £10 million if certain conditions are met. So that's one player out, but there is potentially one player coming in at Everton as well. Orel Mongalai is on Merseyside to have a medical and complete a season-long loan from Lyon. That is also not very easy to see. Season-long loan from Lyon. Too many else there. But yeah, he's here to complete a deal. So one in, one out at Everton, and also maybe some youngsters leaving on loan for the rest of the day as well.
OK, Anton, thank you very much. Let's bring Jay in now and talk about Ivan Toney. We still don't know where he might end up at the end of today, or if it might rumble on till Monday if he moves to Saudi Arabia. But let's talk about it from an international perspective with his career. We've seen he was included in the Euros squad, but he was left out of Lee Carsley's first squad, which was named yesterday. How does this move, if he goes to Al Ahly, impact his international career, do you think?
I think it will definitely have impact on his career because he's going to play in a lesser league. And then, you know, you've got the likes of, obviously, Harry Kane's the main man still, England captain. Again, even though he didn't have a good Euros, he's still the best number 9, in my opinion, in the world. Ollie Watkins is there, who I would say is probably in front of him. And I think from Tony's point of view, he has to be looking at it like, OK, it's nice playing for your country. It's one of the biggest accolades personally you can have. But ultimately, you need to look at your future, what happens after football. And when you look at the kind of money that he could potentially be earning, you can't say no to that kind of money, especially at his age. He's still in his 20s, don't get me wrong, but generally football players will play up to their 35, but that money he could potentially be earning, that's life-changing money, that's generational wealth, which obviously everyone wants.
Flip side of that, we understand Osimhen, if he were to move to Al Ahly, £34 million a year.
That ain't bad, is it?
£650,000 a week. He's 25. There's a talk of a 4-year contract there. So that's over 136 million he will earn in that time. Now, we talk about sometimes an easy thing to throw at football is, they're just after the money. The fact that he's even contemplating perhaps staying in Europe and turning down that money, does that say more about his character, perhaps, than anything else? Because, as you say, that is... Your term was generational money. He is potentially turning down generational money for the sake of playing football.
Let me just say this. Let me say one thing. Everyone's got a number. And that is a huge number of money. But when I look at Osimhen, I say to myself, he's 25 years old. He's obviously tempted by that kind of money, but I think it's clear to see that he wants to stay in Europe. He wants to play at the biggest club. He wants to compete in the biggest competitions in the world. But again, if he's not able to go to the clubs that he wants to, then to me that's a no-brainer. You have to go after the money. And fans don't like to hear it. People don't like to hear that. But ultimately, as a player, as an ex-player, I will be looking at saying generational wealth again. One player I do admire, though, is Mbappe. Mbappe turned it down. Was it 1 billion he could have got for...
He's going to get generational wealth wherever he goes, isn't he?
Yeah, but I'm saying he's still young, right? Mbappe's 24-ish, right? And you look at Osimhen, who's the same kind of age. If Mbappe turned it down to go to his, a club that he really wanted to go to in Real Madrid, he could potentially go to Saudi afterwards. I think Osimhen can do the same. That's why he's looking at it saying, if there's that club that I can potentially go to that can help me win things, I can go to Saudi later.
I saw an interview with him a couple of years ago, so this isn't now, saying how he was always a Chelsea fan. He watched Didier Drogba when he was young, and they became his club. As a footballer, does that have any bearing on your thought process?
Yeah, when your dream club becomes available, and that's a club that you watch, obviously Drogba had You know, I think many strikers will look at Drogba, especially from Africa. They will look at him and say, "Wow, he done so well at Chelsea." He will probably look at Drogba and say, "I'm that kind of stature. I'm that kind of player that can go there and score goals." Chelsea will probably look at him and say the same thing. They haven't had an out-and-out goal scorer since Diego Costa, where he got 20-ish goals. This could potentially be a great move for him, but can you afford his wages? I know in Italy that you get paid net as well, so he's not paying taxes, where when you come to England, you've got to pay the better part of 50% of your salary, which, you know, if he's earning 300 grand a week, he's going to be getting 150 grand a week, whereas you go to, you know, Italy, you're getting 300,000 euros. You go to Saudi, you're getting that whole bag of money in your account without paying taxes. So it's definitely something that he will look at, and I think the fact that he's always looked at Chelsea as a club that he wants to go to will definitely be, you know, stopping him from making that immediate decision.
But could he not, he's 25 years old, could he not do, let's say, 3 out of the 4 years of his contract, earn £100 million and come back as a 28-year-old and still get a move somewhere else in Europe?
He could do, but then will he get a move to the big club because he's going to play in a lesser league? You know, teams might look at it and say, OK, well, he's got a whole heap of goals in Saudi, but can he come back now after doing that and perform at the kind of level he was playing at when he was playing well for Napoli? Does he stay at Napoli? And I think that's what it all comes down to at the moment. I think with Toney and Osimhen, it's very much a what-if situation. I think, you know, listen to the way Al Ahly's, you know, conducted their business. It's like, if we don't get Osimhen, then we've got backup Toney to come in and do a job. And that's no disrespect to Ivan Toney, but every club has their number 1 target and then the number 2 target, and it looks like it's going that way now.
OK. Interesting, isn't it? It's going to rumble on. And now will Southampton complete the signing of Aaron Ramsdale from Arsenal in time for him to play against Brentford tomorrow? We'll hear from Russell Martin next.
11 hours, 38 minutes, there or thereabouts to go until that deadline closes. Don't forget there's a midday cut-off as well, so 39 minutes. If you register your player before that, they can play at the weekend. After that, they can't. Southampton boss Russell Martin has said he's excited at the prospect of bringing in England goalkeeper Aaron Ramsdale from Arsenal. Martin confirmed talks are at a very advanced stage between the clubs. Let's cross to our reporter Mark McAdam, who is at Southampton's training ground for us. Very good morning to you, Mark. So this Ramsdale deal edging closer, it seems.
Yeah, edging closer, and like you rightly say, Russell Martin hugely excited about the potential incoming of Aaron Ramsdale, an England international goalkeeper. He revealed in his press conference this morning that if you'd said to him you'd sign Aaron Ramsdale about 6 weeks ago, he'd say absolutely no chance. If you'd said the same thing to him a week ago, he would have said it was ambitious. But as we stand here right now on deadline day, we're just waiting for official confirmation. We know that the deal had been agreed between Southampton and Arsenal. It's £18 million with £1 million if Southampton stay in the Premier League, and then a potential £6 million in add-ons, which creates a £25 million package for a player that was once the Arsenal number 1. Now, Aaron Ramsdale is in the training ground behind me, but as of yet needs all that paperwork completed and signed off by Arsenal and Southampton to be able to take part in training. And like you rightly say, needs to be done before 12 o'clock if he's to be involved for the Brentford match this weekend. But as you can imagine, there is a buzz around this signing. It's a real statement of intent from Russell Martin and Southampton. And once again, the board have backed the manager when it comes to finding their number 1 targets. And as you could imagine, Russell Martin was asked about Aaron Ramsdale. It's the first question in today's press conference. Here's what he said.
He's hungry to become England's number 1 again, and he wants to be here. So I think that's so important. So if you'd have asked me 4 or 5 weeks ago, would we have had a chance of signing Aaron Ramsdale, I would have thought you were probably crazy. And then we spoke a fair bit over that period of time. Pestered him a little bit, and even a week ago I'd have probably thought, you know, it's not achievable, but it's worth trying still. And then he's seen the way we played. He's watched the first couple of games. I think he admires the courage of the players and the way they play, and I think he knows he has a chance to express himself and to come in and show everyone what a good goalkeeper is. I think he's been frustrated over the last year of the lack of playing time, but I think he brings winning mentality, he brings big character, he brings big voice, which is something as a group we're not we're quite a quiet group in terms of the players because we're a young group. So I just think he brings experience and attitude and winning mentality, and I think he's going to be great.
So this move for Ramsdale edging closer, but I guess Russell Martin hopes that won't be the only incoming at St Mary's today, Mark.
Yes, one of the things I love about speaking to Russell Martin, particularly in press conferences and interviews, he's always so open, transparent and gives you good, honest answers. And I said to him, Southampton fans will be hanging on every word right now. Can they expect to see more players on top of Aaron Ramsdale? And his response was quite intriguing, but also quite revealing. He's confident that Southampton can have a busy deadline day. Here's what he said.
I think there'll be maybe one or two more, but it will also depend on people leaving the building, I think. Some players that want to go and get more playing time, some players that just aren't featured in the plans too much. But everyone's really clear on their situations. So myself, the ownership group, and it's really important to mention the owners with Aaron as well. They've backed us hugely with that signing, and it's maybe one people didn't expect. So I'm really grateful for that, and I'm convinced that Aaron and us as a group will repay that faith and that. What they've done for us. So, yeah, I think hopefully there'll be one or two coming in. But as I said, we'll just have to wait and see. I've learned not to get too far ahead of yourself, especially on this day.
Is one of those Maxwell Cornet?
On this day. Again, we'll have to wait and see. So I'm pretty sure we'll get linked, or we have been linked over the last 48 hours with lots and lots of people. He's been one of them for the last week that we've been linked with. But honestly, I don't know right now. So, yeah, we'll have to wait and see.
So there you go, the Southampton manager speaking there. He says one or two on top of Aaron Ramsdale. We know that Crystal Palace are also interested in Maxwell Cornet, but they would like to add someone out wide, and that is a deal that they are currently working on. So it's not Maxwell Cornet. Russell Martin may get another player in those attacking positions. But as you can see, we're situated outside the training ground down here at Southampton. We can see all the entrances and exits as we get ready for what should be, and hopefully will be, another busy deadline day down here on the south coast.
Mark, always a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Now, it's been a frustrating window so far for Newcastle. Eddie Howe has been speaking to the media this morning. Nick Walsh was asking him the questions for us. Good morning to you. Nick, Newcastle appear to have missed out on their #1 target in Mark Gay. Is that the case? Could they still do other business?
Yeah, good morning, Jasper. I think there is a dawning realisation that perhaps time is running out for Newcastle United in their summer-long efforts to bring in Mark Gay, the Crystal Palace and England defender. He's been their marquee #1 target. If they can get a deal over the line, it would be a club record signing. We understand £65 million offer on the table. Plus £5 million in add-ons, but so far Crystal Palace refusing to accept that offer from Newcastle United, and that is where we are at. But an illuminating press conference on Friday here at the Newcastle United Media Centre with manager Eddie Howe, making no bones about the fact that it has been a frustrating transfer window for Newcastle. Doesn't think the transfer window will ever be the same again in its current format because of PSR constraints, and even laughing off, half-jokingly, I think, suggestions that he could even walk away from Newcastle United because, as I'm stood here right now, his transfer objectives of bringing in a centre-back and perhaps a right-sided midfielder so far have not been met.
I don't know, currently. There is still time and there is still work going on to try and see what we can do in the last few hours of the window. So while there's time, there's hope.
So as we speak on Friday morning, you're not closed for business in or out?
No, I don't think we'll be closed right till the end in both ways. So there may be one or two of the younger players going out. We're looking for loans for 2 or 3 of those. So let's see what happens in the last few hours.
How frustrating has the last week or the last few days of the transfer window been? Because there is a possibility that nobody comes in.
Yeah, there is. I think with such short time left, it is looking difficult. I think, yeah, this window, as I said many times, has been difficult, continues to be difficult for us. Yeah,
Eddie Howe making reference there to what was some clear frustration as it stands about his transfer objectives not being met. Clearly their number one hopes of signing Mark Gay. He did make reference to 2 or 3 players going out there as well, Jasper. Maybe Ryan Fraser, who spent last season on loan at Southampton. Their interest remains. Also, the Scotland under-21 international Harrison Ashby, who was brought in from West Ham for £3 million in January. Some good news as well, just to wrap up on the injury front regarding Joe Willock, who left the pitch early, injured after scoring, of course, against Nottingham Forest in the League Cup in midweek. Has been for a scan, will go for another scan, but the good news about that thigh injury is that Newcastle do not anticipate it is as serious as they first thought. So that's the good news, as all roads lead to that first of 2 Super Sunday fixtures, of course, live on Sky Sports on Sunday as Newcastle play host to Tottenham.
Thank you, Nick. Right, news coming in thick and fast, as you would imagine here on Sky Sports News on deadline day. We've got under 11.5 hours to go now until that deadline. Let's go to Rob Dorset at Nottingham Forest, who has some more breaking news for us, Rob.
Jasper, Nottingham Forest doing on deadline day what Nottingham Forest always seem to do at the 11th hour, and they're busy with incomings and with outgoings. We've already told you that James Ward-Prowse is on his way here to the City Ground as I speak to you right now. Loan agreed with West Ham for the remainder of this season. We know that they want Omar Marmoush, the Eintracht Frankfurt striker. That would be a substantive deal, but may cost them £25 million to get him. Negotiations there at a delicate stage, but they need to get some players out, Nottingham Forest, as well. And there's one that's just happened that we can confirm. Matt Turner, the goalkeeper here, is on his way to Crystal Palace on loan for the rest of this season. We fully expect that one to go through. Palace, of course, have been looking for goalkeeping cover after Sam Johnston joined Wolves. And so Matt Turner, we expect to be on loan from Forest to Palace to give some competition to Dean Henderson for the remainder of this season. And I'm going to finish with a quick word on League One. We don't normally delve that deep, do we? But this is an extraordinary deal that's being discussed between Birmingham City and Fulham right now for striker Jay Stansfield. Of course, he was on loan at St Andrews last season when Birmingham were relegated from the Championship. Birmingham wants him back. They may have to pay up to £9 million to get him. They've made an offer which is just south of that number, I'm told, which has been rejected by Fulham in the last hour or two. But Birmingham are coming back. They still want to get Stansfield. It would break the League One record. They've already broken it twice this summer already in terms of spending on a fee in League One. This one for Jay Stansfield, if it goes through, would absolutely smash that out of sight. Birmingham City, big spending in League One. Nottingham Forest trying to do exactly the same on a bigger scale in the Premier League.
OK, we'll keep an eye on that one. Rob, thank you very much indeed. Keeping an eye on all the deals. Jay Bothroyd is with us. We're going to be talking Liverpool. We're going to hear from Arne Slot, what they've brought in, what they could still do, as we chase those deals on deadline day. And remember, there's only 28 minutes if a club is going to make a deal and get that player signed and registered to play this weekend. So we'll be seeing if any of those clubs make that move now. That's on the way next.
Welcome back. It is deadline day, but if you're dipping in and out of our transfer coverage, there is loads of live sport across our channels as well. Let's start day 2 of the second test between England and Sri Lanka at Lord's, live on Sky Sports Cricket. There has just been a maiden test century for Gus Atkinson. Incredible, brought in as a specialist bowler, and the Surrey man has hit a maiden century in Test cricket. I just looked at what he's on, 108 from 109 balls. Remarkable stuff. Let's move on. Coverage of practice sessions from the Italian Grand Prix as well. Monza starts at midday on Sky Sports F1. Look at this bumper day of sport. Defending champ Coco Gauff takes to the court this afternoon at the US Open. You can see that on Sky Sports Tennis. Coverage begins around 3:30. And if that's not enough for you, we've got brilliant golf action as well. The PGA Tour season-ending Tour Championship as they race for that FedEx Cup trophy and $25 million bonus. You can watch it all unfold from 6 o'clock on Sky Sports Golf. We're spoiling you.
I feel spoiled and blessed at the same time, which is wonderful. OK, let's bring you this. Manchester City have money to spend following a number of sales this window. Ben Ransom is with the champions today. Very good morning to you, Ben. Pep Guardiola played down the chances of new arrivals, but could they need to strengthen?
Well, yeah, good morning. You're right in what you say. There's certainly money in the pot if they choose to spend it. I think I've worked out they've clocked up something in the region of 140, 150 million pounds profit in terms of their player trading this summer. So that sale of Julian Alvarez, of course, boosting that significantly. And we know that City have explored the option to try and bring in another attacking player. We know that Celtic's Kyogo Furuhashi is a player they like. But you're also right in what you're saying that Pep Guardiola has told us that he's not expecting them to go into the market today to sign that player before the window closes. However, we'll find out from him at 1:30 whether he categorically rules out any movement in terms of incomings. As far as outgoings are concerned, 2 young players are on the verge of loan deals away. We brought you the news over the last couple of days that Issa Kabore is closing in on a move to Benfica on loan for the season. Similarly, an update on Joel Ndada's future, the academy winger, someone like Kabore that went on tour with them to the USA with Pep Guardiola's squad ahead of the season. Well, he looks now as though he's going to be going to PSV. The close to agreeing a deal on that one as well. But I will just point out, because the transfer windows in the Netherlands and in Portugal don't close until next Monday, not necessarily the same time pressure to get those done today. The one that could come out of left field is still Matheus Nunes. Atletico Madrid are known to like him. He's a player that joined last summer for north of £50 million from Wolves, but has only started 7 Premier League games. Now, there are also some murmurings that Premier League clubs are keeping a watching brief on his situation too. Now, as I'm told, right now, unlikely he moves, but could be one to keep an eye on as we get closer to the deadline later on.
Thank you very much indeed. Right, hang on to your seats here. Right, and it inevitably involves Chelsea. Right, here we go. Edging closer to an agreement with Manchester United, we're hearing, over the signing of Jadon Sancho. There has been further talks. Permanent and loan options still on the table. Ideally, what we understand is Chelsea need to offload players. Raheem Sterling, as we mentioned a little while ago, one of a number of players being offered to clubs, while United remain open to the idea of Sterling joining. They're not actively pursuing it. Their focus is on Sancho. They don't need to replace him, we understand, if he was to leave. Che is still with us, and we were just very briefly running through the options of players that Chelsea have who could play in the same position as Jadon Sancho. And it is frightening. If you start with Neto, go to Nkunku. Palmer can play out in those wide positions that Jadon Sancho would like to adopt. Madueke. Where do you put Joao Felix in there? Mudryk in there as well. So why on earth... the talent Jadon Sancho has got is not in doubt, but why on earth would you want to add Sancho to an already clustered squad in those positions?
I heard Enzo Maresca say the other day that he really wasn't happy with Mudryk's performance. And I look at what Sancho is, very technical, can come inside, can play on either wing, like you said. He had a fantastic year at Dortmund and ultimately just fell out with the manager, Ten Hag, at Man United. I think he was probably hoping that Ten Hag got the sack. It wasn't to be. And now I think he's moving on, back to London. I feel like with Enzo Maresca, he's going to be playing in a system, a team where they have a philosophy. And I think he'll thrive there. I think it's a great move for him, his family, and obviously Man United, that they want to get rid of him anyway.
Do you think that means, from what you're saying there, that we could see outgoings for the likes of Mudryk that we might not be expecting?
Yeah, I think, like we said, Chelsea, it's all going to be around Chelsea today. Yeah. There'll be ins, there'll be outs. Like you said, there's a lot of players there that can play in those positions. Do you really want those players, all them options? Because if you've got like the likes of Palmer's playing all the time, guaranteed, whether it be on the right...
Is he better in the 10?
I like him in the 10 because I think he knits everything together with Madueke out there, with the strike, with Jackson, he can play through balls. Obviously, he scores himself. He's got real intelligence, way ahead of his years. So I'd like to see him in that number 10 position, but he can play anywhere. Players of that quality can play anywhere. But he's definitely starting. We all know that. And then Madueke started playing really well now, direct, can come inside, can go outside. He's doing really well. Mudryk hasn't done well since he's gone there. You've seen a few flashes in the pan, but nothing much what you would expect of him when he came with that, huge price tag. And when you see the highlights of what he was doing at Shakhtar, it was unbelievable, and it hasn't happened for Chelsea. So bringing someone like Jadon Sancho in, he gives you versatility on either wing. He's got intelligence.
Neto that you've just paid a lot of money for.
I love Neto.
And Nkunku.
Again, Nkunku hasn't really, obviously he was injured, so you give him the benefit of that. When you're out for so long, it takes a long time to get back into the rhythm of things. So I'm not ready to make an assumption on if he's a good signing or not. But Neto, he always causes problems. He done it in the Euros. He was coming off the bench and he was creating goals. At Wolves, he was fantastic, very direct, can score goals. I look at Sancho, though, and I think it's a little bit different. I think he can play on either wing, and that will give him the versatility to put Cole Palmer in the 10 position. If Madueke's not playing, then Sancho can go on the right side, the left side as well. I like it. I think it's great for Sancho. I think it's great for Man United, and I think it's a really good signing for Chelsea.
OK, Joe, let's talk Liverpool now, because they've brought in Federico Chiesa and Georgi Mamardashvili in this transfer window, but head coach Arne Slot isn't expecting any further incomings on deadline day.
Of course, we're happy with the ones we signed, because I said many times that it's difficult for us to make the team even stronger, because we already have a very strong team. And if we then find them, of course, we're very happy with that. So Chiesa is someone who can help us for the short term, and Mamardashvili, I think I pronounced it then really good, is I think one of the examples where this club did in the past very good as well, that we look also at the long-term future of the club. I'm not expecting anything, but again, it's no difference than all the days before. If we see an opportunity, we could act, but I'm not expecting anything.
Well, away from deadline day, Arne Slot's attentions are firmly fixed on his first competitive taste of the rivalry with Manchester United. It's live on Super Sunday. The teams met in pre-season in the United States, but Slot is expecting a bigger intensity at Old Trafford.
It's going to be different, of course, because when we played them in the States, I think it was 50-50 when it was about the fans. The stadium was somewhere the same. I think it was 80,000 or something like this. But the atmosphere will be completely different, of course, because I'm not expecting half of the stadium that they are cheering for us or they're in favour for us. Would be a surprise, though, if it happens. So that's going to be different. But what makes it more different is that both teams have a lot of different players on the pitch. So you can't compare that game with the game on Sunday.
Well, what a game we have to look forward to on Super Sunday. Manchester United taking on Liverpool at Old Trafford. What have you made, Jay, of how Liverpool have started under Arne Slot? We've seen 2 victories in the Premier League so far. What have you made of maybe the style of play?
I think it's very similar to the way Klopp plays, but when I've watched Liverpool play, I look at them and say they're not always pressing straight away, whereas Klopp enforced that. He was like, as soon as you lose the ball, press. And now I'm seeing with Slot's team, sometimes if the press is not on, which generally Jota, as it stands right now, would start that press, or one of the front three would start that press, they just drop off and they be disciplined. I think when you've got the likes of, their back line is, one of the best in the world still. I like Gravenberch in that number 6 position now, where I think that suits him. He's energetic, he keeps the ball really well, he's a good size. And then Jota, who for me, I was saying last year, he needs to be playing that number 9 because I think he's clinical, he's good with his feet, he runs in behind, his decision-making is very good. And that's what they missed out on last year, and that was purely because of his injuries. When he's fit, he did play and he did score. And then you got... Then you got Szoboszlai, who's come back from injury as well. Last year, he was in and out. I like the way Liverpool are shaping up. I think they've got a real good mentality. They've got a good blend of young and old experienced players. I won't say old, experienced players. They're definitely in with a title shot.
OK, plenty more from Jay to come as deadline day continues. Big news coming in the past few minutes. Chelsea edging closer to an agreement with United to sign Jadon Sancho. More on that and plenty of other deals to keep you across. Deadline day here on Sky Sports News. Leicester are understood to be very happy with yesterday's edition of Bilal El Khanous, but they're not ruling out the possibility of more incomings before the deadline. Kirsty Edwards is at Leicester's training ground for us. Very good morning to you, Kirsty. Any more signings or outgoings expected?
Well, I spoke to Steve Cooper yesterday and said, am I going to have much to talk about today? And he said, the one thing I can promise you is a cup of tea. And look at this. He is a man of his word. So I've got my cuppa. As for signings today, well, as we speak, the club not expected any incomings, but the door isn't closed. So as you say, they are absolutely delighted with that business they got done yesterday. Bilal El Khanous is a 20-year-old Moroccan attacking midfielder, and attacking the key word there, because Steve Cooper did really want to add to his attacking options. He got Jordan Ayew in last week, I think his versatility really key for Steve Cooper. We've generally seen him playing on the wing, but he can play up front, and we saw him there playing for Leicester up front midweek in that cup win over Tranmere, scored a cracking goal as well. So he's got him in. He got Bilal El Khanous in yesterday, and we expect to see him competing for the number 10 spot. But yeah, as things stand in terms of anyone else coming in, not at the moment. They will only bring somebody in if he's the right fit, the right financial fit, the right fit for Steve Cooper. Possible outgoings with Tom Cannon attracting a lot of attention from Championship clubs. But as things stand, it's just me and my cuppa here at Leicester.
That's all you need, Kirsty. That's all you need. Thank you very much indeed.
Now, we're going to talk Federico Chiesa's move from Juventus to Liverpool. Now, moving from the Serie A, where Jay played for 2 seasons with Perugia. Now, Jay, we've both discovered something quite remarkable, haven't we? Because Jay scored in his debut for Perugia, a 2-2 draw against Siena, and the opposing striker was Federico Chiesa's father.
Oh, you're making me sound old.
Chiesa.
How old is his dad first? Hold on.
His dad's 53.
Okay, then.
His dad's 53, so he's a little bit younger
than you.
Yeah. But what was it like transitioning? What do you think it would be like transitioning from Serie A to the Premier League for Federico?
Obviously, the game in the Premier League is much faster when you've played in Italy, and when you see the players playing. I mean, there's teams like Atlanta that are a bit different. They could probably compete in the Premier League, but I think the game is slower generally. But he is a player with a lot of speed. He can play on either wing. He's a good finisher. But again, injuries had stopped his progress. Yeah. But that's not to say that he can't get back on it, because he's definitely got the ability to do it. And again, for was it 12 million quid?
12.5 million.
It's like it's a no-brainer. You take that risk. You know he's a quality player that can come in there and do a job.
He'd start, do you think?
I'm not sure he will start, because obviously Luiz is doing well. Salah's there. He's never not gonna play. But there's a lot of games. You know, when you're playing in all these competitions, you need to rotate your squad. We spoke about Jota. He's picked up injuries in the past. If he does, even potentially, he might play down the middle. But I think ultimately it's a great signing for Liverpool.
We've got about 20 seconds left. And 11 hours, 5 minutes of the window. Which deal do you most want to go through?
Sterling to Arsenal. Without doubt. Without doubt, everyone will get a buzz from that. Fans, players, everyone.
And you.
And me.
Wonderful to see. Did you hear that noise in the background?
I did hear that noise.
That is always a guaranteed sign that Adebayo Akinfenwa is in here. He's up next.